So Loso thinks, is it better to not have lived and died than not lived at all? I mean, that's an interesting philosophical question, but if your whole life was spent in exploitation, basically imagine if you were a slave. It doesn't have to be an African American slave. You could be an ancient Greek slave, an ancient Egyptian slave, whatever. Imagine if your whole life, the only reason why you existed is because you were bred into existence to be exploited 24/7, never having any freedom. And then as soon as you were no longer useful, you didn't have enough energy to do the labor that you were brought into existence to perform. You were just terminated, done, and they bring in a new, younger version of you to do what you were doing and repeat the process. So you're trying to justify that as good. Well, at least they got a chance to live. I mean, so you're saying it's morally okay, it's justifiable to bring a sentient being into existence and exploit it its entire life and then kill it when you find it the right time. You're saying that's totally fine. Yeah, Jesse 12-string, apparently it's better to live and face a horrible death and live a horrible life, like I said, with no freedom, being exploited the entire time, and then never to have lived at all. Yeah, so that's what basically Loso is saying. He would choose life. He was totally cool with being an ancient Greek slave or an ancient Egyptian slave, bred into existence so he could build pyramids to the point of exhaustion. And as soon as he's like not good enough anymore, they kill him. They just throw him to the beast and he's done. You know, he's totally cool with that. Right. I don't believe that. He's just saying he's cool with that to try to justify his reasoning for why it's okay to do the same thing with animals. But no human wants to be exploited their entire life and killed as soon as another human says, we don't need him anymore. Just kill him. He's not worth keeping alive and feeding. He cannot build the pyramids quickly enough. Well, that's your opinion, Loso. But that's not an objective fact. So I'm not saying it's fine. I'm just saying it's better than not existing. Again, that's your opinion. And opinions are not fact. That's just your opinion. Many of us here have a quite different opinion than what you have. So I'm not saying just because that's your opinion doesn't make it right. It's a dubious opinion, is what I'm saying. It's not an opinion that you can find, even if you could find like a majority of people agree with, that doesn't make it right. That's an appeal to a majority fallacy. But I'm just saying it's a dubious opinion. Well, that's your choice, Loso. You think you're cool with being bred into existence and exploited your entire life and then killed when your owner feels it's a great time to kill you. If you think that you're cool with that, that's on you. But, I don't agree with that. And to assume that animals are totally on board with that philosophy is a huge leap in logic. There's no connection between your opinion and how animals should be treated. That's his argument there, and because he thinks that's the correct way to think about things, that's the justification for knowing that animals are going to be exploited their entire lives, 80 billion of them a year, because he thinks in his mind, and when he does a thought experiment, yeah, I could live in these most squalorous, exploitative conditions I can possibly imagine, because in my thought experiment, it's cool. So because of my thought experiment, I think it's cool. Yeah, in real life, let's slaughter 80 billion animals. All of humanity lived in horrible conditions for most of our existence. Well, this is like the argument where we say, but our ancestors, let's eat like our ancestors. So let's do what people did in the ancient past or something like that. The thing is, this is 2022, brah. There's no justification for being exploited, being brought into existence as a human, be kept as a slave, and then killed when your owner thinks you were are no longer worthy. Why are you using examples of horrible conditions from the past to justify killing animals? That's what you're saying. Vegans are saying no life is better than death. No, we're just saying don't exploit animals. How is that so hard to wrap your head around? Why do you keep trying these mental gymnastics, Loso, to get around this whole notion that animals are needlessly being exploited now, in the present, for you, so you can eat some stupid product that you don't need to eat. You don't need meat to survive or be healthy. You're just doing it for some selfish pleasure because you're doing it at the expense of a sentient being who wants to live. They do choose life. They would rather not have to die for you. It's that AJ, Loso thinks he is superior to animals, so he can't put himself in their place hypothetically. That's pretty much it, yeah. So here's, yeah, Loso, this is pretty horrifying. So Loso is saying we must eat animals. We must exploit them and be cruel to them and all that horrible stuff, slaughter them so that they can have life. Just for a brief, horrible moment, and we can eat them. We're doing the animals a favor. That's his argument here. He's doing it out. He's eating the animals out of the goodness of his heart, like the hunters. Just like the hunters that say, hey, if we didn't hunt the deers, they would overpopulate everything. And I'm hunting because I want to help. I want to help the deers. I want to help the world be a better place. So I'm going to go out there and shoot a bunch of animals up and have a bunch of fun because I'm really compassionate. That's what he's saying. He's eating the animals because of his love and compassion for them. That's pretty much it. All right, so Loso, let's take your idea to its furthest conclusion, and we'll let Loso go here. So he's saying this is good for the animals. Eating meat results in more life. Let's apply that to humans. Can we apply that same logic to humans? If humans take a long time to breed, and it's really expensive to have more than like 1 or 2 kids these days. So what if we round up a bunch of humans and enslave them and just kept breeding them and making them work real hard, and we could get a lot of stuff done. We could like build more highways and build pyramids and stuff like that. We could get a lot of people. Think about all these lives, and then they're not useful anymore because they get sick or break a leg. We won't kill them, but hell, at least those people got to live a life that they might have not had because we bred a whole bunch of them into existence. So that justification you're using, that you're making the world a better place by exploiting animals, you could make the same argument you could by what I just said there. What's different about the humans than the animals? Yeah, that's it, Samuel. His logic would be with no human rights. That seems to be it. What is the difference there? If you're doing a good thing for the animals, you'd be doing a good thing for humans. Like, how would it be a bad thing for humans, but a good thing for animals if you breed them in existence and exploit them and kill them? That's good. But, it's the same thing. If we just could enslave a few 100,000 humans and breed them up to 1 million and get them all working and killing them and breed more, that would be a good thing. That sounds like a pretty horrific world where sentient beings of all kinds, animals and humans, were bred into existence, never had an ounce of freedom their entire lives exploited, overworked, horrible conditions, and then killed. Yeah. Hey, how about, that's a good point, Sean. So being a steak isn't the ideal life goal for a cow, huh? That's not really what a cow is thinking. Yeah, I'm glad I'm here because, I really want guys like Loso to eat me. That would be so awesome. I really want that guy to eat me. He's really cool. Cow goals, huh? Lynn, this is the least logical thing I've heard all day, and I worked for 8 hours. So, yeah. Hey, that's a good one, Uncle. Yeah, you could tie someone to a stake on the ground and let the ants slowly eat them. I guess possums or whatever animals might join in, raccoons. Would that be okay? Huh? That's a good question. Yeah. And then there would be more ants, and then more life, huh, Tracy? So it actually is a good thing. The more life we can... That's basically his argument. Thanks for pointing it out, Tracy. In a nutshell, his argument is the more life we can produce on this planet, regardless if that life was brought into existence for exploitative purposes. But yeah, exploitative purposes seem to be a really ideal breeding ground, for lack of a better term, for making more life. So anyway, yeah, Jesse brings up a good point. Let's look at the quality of life. So a cow living a life pregnant and milking her entire life. That's your life of 24/7 exploitation. And having all her babies taken every time she became pregnant after, gave birth after the enforced pregnation. How is that a life worth living? How is that how are you saying, yes, this is totally cool because it makes more life? Harmony Paints. Of all the arguments I've heard on this channel, this one is the most ridiculous. It kind of is, because it seems to, like I said, the logical consequences of this absurd argument that it's great, to exploit animals because it makes more life. Yeah, how is that any different if you apply that same reasoning to human beings? It seems to be a justification for mass slavery, right? I mean, I don't see any difference. I'm really trying to be charitable to his argument, if you want to call it that. It is an argument, and the logical consequence of that is human slavery is a good thing. Why? Because it makes more life. These people wouldn't have been alive if they weren't bred into existence for the purposes of slavery exploitation.
My smile may be pretty, but